As the nation deals with the fallout of the deadly coronavirus pandemic, mass protests on police brutality, and the deployment of federal troops quelling said protests, as well as an economic recession, on and on and on. We've got a lot of problems here. Nancy Pelosi decides that she's going to bring out the big guns against Donald Trump.
This president, I have a new name for him, Mr. Make Matters Worse. He has made matters worse from the start. Delay, denial, it's a hoax, it'll go away magically, it's a miracle, and all the rest. And we're in this situation that you spelled out some of the numbers very clearly early. Mm-hmm. So it makes matters worse. Now then we'll send our children to school.
Mr. Make Matters Worse. Got it. Nailed him. Look, okay, so let's break it down. Substantively, of course, she's right. Donald Trump has what I like to call the reverse Midas touch. Basically, everything that Donald Trump touches falls to shit. Like literal feces, turds, okay? So, look, at the core of it, yeah, Donald Trump makes things worse. Yes. And look, the only reason that this country hasn't essentially descended into full-on fascism is because the United States, we actually do have some pretty strong institutions. If we did not have the strong institutions, if we were not that strong of a country, well, then we would be in literal fascism, of course, led by Donald Trump and the Republican Party. So let's be honest about that, right? And as I've said before, Donald Trump is not the cause of the disease. He is a symptom of the disease. He is a symptom of decades of neoliberal economics, neocon policies, corporate influence peddling within Congress, a lot of which Nancy Pelosi is kind of involved in as well. And so, yes, you take an already fundamentally flawed system and you add a populist or faux populist from the right wing, and this is what you get, Mr. Make Matters Worse. All right. So that said, right? Again, she is right about Donald Trump. Really, though, I think my biggest criticism here is, okay, second biggest criticism here is that she's just not going to go ham on Donald Trump. I would really like to see that. Just like, what do you really think, Nancy? I mean, yeah, you're much more vicious when you're fighting against Medicare for all than you are Donald Trump. So I would really like to see what you really think, right? Pelosi couldn't call Trump F up, man. I mean, that would be better. That would be much better. And so, again, that's not even my main substantive criticism. No, I would actually like to see Nancy Pelosi not vote for Donald Trump's war budget. That would be nice. Or at the very least, support very sensible pieces of legislation or amendments in this case, such as the Bernie Sanders amendment to cut 10% off the Pentagon. I mean, just 10%. Or at least I'd like to see her admit that, oh, right, voting to give Donald Trump more executive power when it comes to war and to give him and the Pentagon so much more money. Maybe those were bad votes. Maybe. That would be nice. But no, she's not going to do that. And this is really why the resistance is a joke to leftists. This is why we criticize her. Because it seems to be all about slogans, right? You spout off slogans, you come up with cheesy little nicknames that are just laughable, right? Very, very laughable. And then you get the pretending to be woke, but not actually fixing or pushing to fix underlying issues of the day. And so, for example, the fact that, millions of people don't have employer-sponsored healthcare because, well, they're laid off. They lost their jobs. Well, what are we doing about that? What is Nancy Pelosi doing about that? Oh, no, we're going to extend COBRA. You might as well just get us all bitten by cobras because that's what's going to happen, right? We're just going to die anyway because we don't have healthcare because we can't afford healthcare. And you're saying, oh, no, let's expand COBRA to people, which is 100% basically unaffordable, especially if you've lost your job. It's hard enough to afford Cobra when you do have a job that doesn't offer you health insurance. So, I mean, it's utterly ridiculous to go and support those kinds of policies and say that, oh no, it's him. He's not making anything better. Sure, he may be making things worse, but you ain't making anything better, Nancy. And that's one of the big problems. I know. You have the banners for Medicare for All somewhere stashed in your basement. I get it. Maybe it's stashed alongside being able, the ability to be able to make decent nicknames. Just saying. All right. But again, the resistance is a joke. I mean, it's a bad joke. It's not actually a resistance movement. Look, ripping up his speech and then voting for an expansion of Donald Trump's war powers is not a good thing. That's not a great look for somebody who, in her words, who goes after Donald Trump for making things worse. You're making things worse by giving Donald Trump more money and more power. But then again, of course, when it comes to bombing brown people in other countries, which we're still doing amid a global pandemic, Pelosi, ironically, is making matters that are already bad that much worse. A humanitarian disaster combined with a global pandemic. And you're doing so by continuing to fund it and therefore tacitly endorsing it and supporting it. And that's my big problem with the Democrats. What are they getting from helping Donald Trump fund the Pentagon with billions more dollars by giving him more power, by giving him more executive power, and making our foreign policy situation that much worse? What does she get from it? Well, the answer to that, of course, is money. Follow the money, as always. Look, a lot of Democrats admittedly get their money from defense contractors. And look, most of all the politicians actually get a lot of money from defense contractors. Why? It's because they're all located in Virginia. I mean, Washington, D.C. is a home of the headquarters of major defense contractors. And so they're constantly there. They're constantly lobbying for more money, for more money to go into their pockets. And of course, there's this entire narrative there that really a lot of the Democrats, unfortunately, have really bought into. Like, oh, no, you don't understand. We have to continue funding and shoveling more and more money towards the Pentagon, even though we have the most well-funded military on Earth. In fact, we give more money to the military than the budgets of entire countries, just to the military. And not only that, but to the police forces. For example, New York City's police budget, $6 billion. Again, larger than some small nations. So come on, man. Like, yes, it's because of the lobbying. It's because of the money. What we should be doing, of course, is defunding the Pentagon by at least half, in my opinion, right? Barbara Lee's proposal to do that, to cut 50% out of the Pentagon budget, which, by the way, we would still have the most well-funded military in the entire world, got completely ignored. And then even the Sanders-Markey amendment, right, which was, again, a modest 10% cut in the Pentagon budget. Again, this was just money that funding that Donald Trump himself added to the military, right? Even that was rejected. Some 77 senators voted against it. That's about half the Democratic caucus that basically rejected that. I mean, that's amazing. That said, look, we can talk about the Republican plan for coronavirus, which is basically, if you get sick, die fast. And that's the old Alan Grayson quote, but it actually works really well here. But we don't talk enough about the Democrats' plan. What's the Democrats' plan? What's Joe Biden's plan to deal with coronavirus when he gets into office? Now, he says all these platitudes about like, oh, well, we're going to listen to the science. Okay, well, are you going to close down the schools? What are you going to do for people who are working? What are you going to do for essential workers, right? Are you going to guarantee health care for everyone so that, if you get coronavirus and go to the hospital and need some serious care, you don't come out with a $1.1 million hospital bill, which we have seen before? What are you going to do about that? Are you going to push for rent cancellation? You going to push for that? Or what about a UBI, $2,000 a month until the crisis is over, till we return to pre-coronavirus levels? Are you going to do that? No. Are you going to cancel student loans? No. He only said that he'd cancel up to about $10,000, which basically covers interest on some of the bigger loans. So, yay. Yeah, it might be better than what Donald Trump is offering, but it's still not a whole lot. And so all you can really say is that, sure, Biden and the Democrats really aren't going to make the situation worse, but they're really not going to make it all that much better either. I mean, yes, technically it will be better, but the problem is that it's very small, it's very marginal, and this is at a time where what we need is bold initiatives to deal with this crisis and deal with it in the correct way. And unfortunately, as long as people like Nancy Pelosi continue to be in power, we're not going to get any sort of bold action. And so we're going to continue to stumble and stutter and suffer, and the economy and everyone else is going to end up paying for it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.